Hello everybody and welcome to Lauren Loves Color. This is Lauren. I have a pretty massive flip-in review for you today. Due to my time on vacation, I actually received 3 of these books in the mail and 1 book literally the day after I returned from vacation. So I've been spending a lot of time coloring, filming videos, and trying to catch up. So I have 4 flip-in reviews for you today. 2 of these are more pixel style books and then 2 of these are more traditional color by number. So let's go ahead and get started. I will also, because this is such a large flip-in review, be linking timestamps down below in the description box. So if there is a book that you are particularly interested in seeing, you can skip to that particular part of the video and things as well. So we're going to go ahead and get started and work our way from the bottom to the top. The very first one is the newest release from Belba family. This is Misty's Mystery Mosaics. For those of you who may or may not know, Misty is actually a color tuber. I will link her information down below in the description box, but this book was kind of dedicated to her. It was her birthday month. Belba family has done some work with her, and I thought this was just so lovely and so nice. And so they even mentioned when they released this book that they asked her kind of what were 2 of her favorite things to color, and she mentioned unicorns and mermaids. And Misty, I have to say, those were excellent choices because they're also 2 of my absolute favorite things to color as well. When I look at kind of mythical animals and things like that, unicorns and mermaids are super, super high up on my list. I think they might even be number 1 and number 2. This is their more pixel style book. This is what the back looks like here. This has their standard 22 color palette here, and then just a variety of different samples of images that they have on the back. You'll see it's a mix of some unicorn designs, and then also some mermaid designs as well. So I always love that they have like a nice little preview just so you kind of get an idea for what you think might actually be in the book itself. So let's open up the book here. Cute. This book belongs to page. And then also this gives a nice little introduction, just dedicating this book specifically to Misty. She lives in Bryson City, USA. She lives on the countryside with lots of animals, cats, dogs, birds, and bats. So I just thought that this was really, really great. So you'll see down below, it's again says happy birthday, Misty, and happy coloring to everybody. So it's really cool when different publishers are now starting to partner with different color tubers and people who know, love, and love coloring. They always have a nice little kind of you can kind of cut this out little color palette here, and I always think it's really, really nice and beautiful that they do this kind of corresponding kind of wallpaper on the back side of their pages. It's a nice just added little touch. This one here just has the unicorns and the mermaids, and then you'll see here it kind of introduces this section of the book as being the unicorn section with a little poem here specifically about unicorns. So it said, I never ever really believed in unicorns, but I always somehow hoped that in a place too far from me, they gambled in sunny springtime meadows. They'd wear a wreath of summer daisies and have glitter on their shiny hooves, their tails all braided in fantastic patterns, and their manes would float on gentle breezes. And then we get into the actual book. The wallpaper changes actually as we get into the unicorn section and just changes to having unicorns on this side. So it's just a nice, subtle little touch. These are the 3x3 millimeter squares, which are their pixel style, but this specifically is like their very, very small pixel style books. They have, and we'll kind of go a little bit more in depth about some of the differences between the 2 pixel books that I look at, but this is 3x3, and both books that I'm going to be reviewing are 3x3. Inside of each square is a corresponding number to the color palette, and so you would simply color in that square. You can do 3 different ways are typically the most common, which is color in the square completely, put an X in the square, which is the X method, or just put a little dot. Both give kind of a different type of effect and just vary the coloring time that you would spend. These are meant to be complete mystery, and as I sit here in front of me, I really can't see what this image is, but sometimes when the camera's a little bit further away, you can start to kind of make out a little bit what the image might be. Also, what I think is really, really nice with Belba family, and this is in most of their books, is down here at the bottom, they also put the entire color palette again. It just is a nice reference so that you can then reference that as you're coloring and not constantly have to flip to the back of the book. So the first half of the book, like I said, is just unicorns. I'm going to flip through this really quickly. This was not the section that I colored out of. But I love, 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 love unicorns. These take quite a while because of the size of the image itself. So I think the image that it took for me, it took probably close to 3 hours to complete, if I'm being completely honest. So they definitely take a little bit of time and patience as you're trying to color through these pages. And you'll see they do change to having the color palette kind of underneath once the image changes to a landscape image, which is really nice. And it looks like they actually kind of bundled their landscape and portrait images together, which is nice. And then for mermaids, and actually you'll kind of see when we change, but the background actually changes of the wallpaper when we change the mermaid section. You'll kind of see it here too. So nice, very subtle touch. So pages 34 through 59 are specifically mermaids. It says, who would be a mermaid fair, singing alone, combing her hair, under the sea in a golden curl, or with a comb of pearl, on a throne. So this is by Lord Alfred Tennyson, whoever that is, not sure. And then we switch to the mermaid pages. So again, we kind of are looking at the mermaid backgrounds now in the second half of the book. This is the page that I completed. This actually ended up being one of the pages that's on the back of the book. I just realized that now after looking at the back of the book. And I think it looks really beautiful. I mean, the different colors and everything that were chosen in here I thought were great. The image just turned out really beautiful. I used just alcohol markers in here, and you'll see they kind of do bleed through on the back. So I always keep some blotter pages behind there. I decided to color it in completely this time. I usually do the X method or the dot method, but I have found that sometimes it's not as, it doesn't save that much time. I probably need to do like a like timer to kind of see how long it actually takes to complete these pages, and do you really save time with the X method and dot method, because like this had a large black background and I was able to pretty easily just color that in, even just using my chisel nib on my towel tree markers. But you know, is if I had to put in an X or a dot, that would have taken me a lot longer time. But of course, in the actual image itself, there was a lot, you know, obviously that's very time consuming. So I really like the look of it being completed in fully. It definitely adds to the image and just makes it pop a little bit more. So, and it makes it easier to see. I have found sometimes, depending upon the book, the X method or the dot method, it can be very hard to tell what the image is, depending upon how much details in their book. So I really think for the Belba family books, filling them in completely works really, really well. So, and this is just the rest of the pages in the book. So yeah, so this is a really, really, really well done book. Pixel style aren't always like my go-to books that I gravitate towards, just because they're very time consuming and they're very detail oriented. So I have a tendency to go towards more kind of traditional color by number books, but these are really, really fantastic. I think Belba family, and we're going to look at Sachin and Sachdevas, are two of like the gold standard of pixel style books. The pixels are consistent. The lines in here are like a dark gray, so they're not black. So I would say these don't prevent, if you're using alcohol markers in here, it's a little bit, you have to kind of live with just that there's going to be some bleed over into this square next to it. There's not a great way to avoid that, just because the squares are so small and it's not black, like black thick lines. So just be aware of that. If that bothers you, you can use other types of mediums like water-based markers, wouldn't have bleed through, colored pencils, things like that. Here's all the social media information for the Belba family, and then they always have in the back of their books just a list of their other books that they offer and things too. Belba family has a nice variety of different color by number books. They're very, very well known for their 3x3mm sections, so you'll see that's kind of the most of what they have, but they also have some other different types of books and things here too. The Stone Mosaic series is by far my favorite from what they offer, which is more of a traditional color by number style book. So that is that. This is Misty's Mystery Mosaics. So let's look at the other Mosaic style book just for a comparison and contrast to the two. This is the newest pixel style book released by Sachin and Sachdeva. These books from him have become extremely popular. His illustration style, which is kind of more of a cutesy, whimsical, just fun and light style, really seemed to do well in these books. People really seem to be drawn to them, and I don't blame them. I think they're extremely well done. These are the 3x3mm sections again, and he's published a few of these this year. He also has on the inside of his books just some different color by number books that he has. He also has his Mosaic art books here, so he has four total 3x3 vintage cars, patterns, vacations, and musical, and actually these last three were all published this year. He also has Inside Home, which I have, which is a 5x5, so it's the larger squares, and Sea Creatures. I don't have that one, but Inside Home is a really, really great one if you want a slightly larger pixel to color in. He also really always has a really nice, beautiful "This Book Belongs to You" page, and then information about the book itself. He also mentions you can try the cross stitch method here. You can also do the dot method. Again, I will just warn you, especially I find in some of these larger books, sometimes the cross stitch and dot method are harder to see. They're less detailed. And so you take a little bit of a risk of it not showing as boldly as if you were to color it in. So on the inside of the book, you'll see there are a little bit of similarities and differences to what you see in Belba family. He does also have listed, it's on the actual left-hand side of the book, the entire color palette again to reference, which is really, really nice when you're coloring. Now, when you look at the actual size of the image on the right-hand side, you'll see it is actually larger than Belba family's. I'm going to hold up their book just for comparison, just so you can kind of compare and contrast a little bit between the two. And I'm gonna zoom in, and I like that they both kind of came out with a book at the same time, just so you can kind of see. Okay, so a couple things that I'll actually share with you. The size of the pixels in this book, and I don't know why, and I'm gonna see if I can even actually, well, no, it's not gonna work very well. Maybe I can fold this page over this way. Okay. I want you guys just to look a little bit at the actual size of the pixel. If you look, oh, you can't even see that because I'm not in frame there. Okay, I don't know how easily you're going to be able to see this. A couple of things to notice. The actual pixel size in the Sachin Sachdeva book is bigger. It is bigger than what is here in Belba family, but they both claim to be 3x3mm squares. I don't know if it's that, I don't know if it is that Belba family shrinks it down a little bit, because if you'll notice on the page when I'm looking, I mean, these are the same size books, but you'll notice, you know, on the bottom of the page is where Belba family actually puts their color palette. Sachin Sachdeva puts it on the, you know, on the opposite page here. So at first it was like, oh, is this just a kind of larger, page? Does it have more rows and things like that? But I'm not sure that it does. I think this one is maybe shrunk down just a little bit. Actually, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pause you guys for a moment. I'm going to come back and let you know if the size, the actual proportions of these differ. Hold on just one second. Okay, so here's what I've learned. I've done a little bit of math. I have checked and double checked and triple checked and consulted my husband, who is very, very good with all of this kind of stuff, to help me figure out what exactly that I'm seeing. I'm seeing an optical illusion, is really what it boils down to. I can confirm that both the Belba family book and the Sachin Sachdeva book, both of these squares are 3x3mm. What really has thrown me off is the proportions of the actual squares and a couple of details and choices that the illustrators made themselves. So in the Belba family books, I actually counted the number of columns and rows that are in each of their image sizes. There are 60 columns and 80 rows, so it's actually a larger pixel image, and then or a larger image itself. So the image itself is actually larger, even though the squares visually look smaller. And Sachin Sachdeva has 78 rows and 58 columns. So it is, I did a little bit of math. So this is part of the reason why I feel that the Sachin Sachdeva books are easier and take less time, is there are 4,800 pixels inside of the Belba family books inside of a standard image. Sachdeva has about a little over 4,500 pixels inside each image. So it's actually a difference of 276 pixels more in the Belba family books than in the Sachdeva books. What really makes the difference between these two books, very briefly, is the thickness of the lines that go around each square. So the inside square, so the white part, is actually the exact same size, but the thickness of the lines around each square is different. It's a lot thinner in the Belba family books than it is in the Sachdeva books, and I don't know why. It might just be the font that was chosen, but the numbers in the Sachdeva book look bigger, but they're really not, or at least the white space is not bigger. So it might be that the font is slightly larger in this book too, which makes the spaces look even bigger. But obviously, if the space around each white square is larger, then it's going to take up more space on the page. So that is why it does validate a couple things for me. Belba family books take longer for me to do than Sachdeva pixel books. But also what it validates for me really is that the reassuring thing is that each of them are 3x3 millimeter squares. And so it's not that one really is misselling or misrepresenting the actual size. It really has to do more so with the, with the number of pixels based upon the stylistic choices that the publishers have made. So this is the page that I completed. I used my towel tree markers for this. Because he uses the thicker, blacker lines inside of or around the squares, it makes it easier to use alcohol markers in here because there isn't as much like bleed over. Not that there isn't some, but it's not as obvious, I would say, to the naked eye. And what I like is still you see plenty of nice detail in each of the images here. You can even see kind of just the differences between the highlights and stuff from the bear and from her being underneath the covers here of this blanket, which is just kind of cool. So real fun, whimsical, unique, and exciting images all related to music. And you would think it would just be like music notes or instruments or things like that, but it's not. He also does a standard 25 images, typically in each of his color by number books as well. So this is, again, just a really nice kind of fun book to add to your collection if you like the Sachdeva style of pixel books. So I'm not going to flip through all of those because most of those are a mystery and look like nothing, but that is the Mosaic Art Musical 3x3 color by number book by Sachdeva. All right, let's take a look at this one. This one's a little bit unique and different. This is the Butterfly Color by Number by Pod Only Publishing. They so kindly reached out to me and asked me, do you want to review a color by number book? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So they sent me this book in the mail. This is what the back of the book looks like, 25 color by number pages. And we're going to talk about this book a little bit. This has the nice kind of soft matte cover, which is really, really nice. I like this. I like the feel, honestly, personally, of the shiny cover better, but when you're filming, gosh, it films so nicely when it's nice and matte and doesn't have that extra shine on it, which is really nice. So let's open this page here. So I have had an opportunity to actually message back and forth with a publisher on Instagram. I will say they're extremely receptive. They don't have very many books, I think, published, period. When I looked into them online, I only found maybe a handful of books that they have published on Amazon. And so part of my responsibility as a reviewer too is to bring them very constructive feedback. So I will tell you, I have already filmed a separate video for them that I have sent them with just some constructive feedback. I'm going to point out some of the feedback that I gave to you, but the very important thing to note is that they were very receptive. They're going to be actually making some corrections and changes to this book based upon this feedback. So this book that I have in front of me here may not be the same copy that you receive if you decide to order this. They may have made some of those changes. One of the very first suggestions that I made, of course, was just some corrections to some simple grammar. Sometimes English is not the first language for everybody that's publishing these books, and so I always try to help them out too in that situation, just to help with some, grammatical errors and things like that, just to kind of make the book a little more put together. So this is what an image on the inside looks like. These are really geared towards, and they actually market this to be a book for children. I would agree with that. I think these are very, very simple color by number images. There are a few really good pros that I really like about this book. Number one, the image is framed. A lot of brand new publishers don't think about that as a detail. I think that's a really nice detail that they actually thought about. And then one thing that you'll see here too is they have a color palette down here at the bottom. Now they don't have anything on the back of the book that references like what shade of that color that they like, that they would like. However, some of the more simple color by number books I find don't always have that. And because these are all very, very basic colors in any type of crayon marker set and things like that, it's not really necessary that they have it. Just something that if they wanted to make some more complex color by number in the later time that to do that. The images in here, the line work for the most part, and we'll go through it, is nice and bold. So alcohol markers would look nice here. The images are single-sided, so you can see there's nothing published on the back, which is really nice. And their color palette stays consistent throughout, so 1 will always be red, 3 will always be yellow, etc., etc. And you guys know that I like that. And also for something for kids, they don't require a color in the background of the butterfly, which I also really like because it really makes it nice and easy for people to either add their own background if they want to, but not make it feel like it's necessary. This would also be a really, really great book for seniors or anybody who may need something a little bit more larger print. It's very easy to read the numbers that are in here. There are a couple of very, very picky little things that I have in here. One of them you'll see is on this page. Only a couple of pages in here actually have this very, very fine line detail work somewhat around the antennas and around, like, you'll see like the leaves in here. And so if you're using alcohol marker, that could definitely make it harder to, it could kind of bleed through a little bit or bleed over past those lines. So I did give them the feedback about that. Also, there are a few places where they're missing numbers. Now, I would say it's pretty common sense based upon what where the number might be missing. Like it could be, for example, 2 different wing sections and one has a number and one doesn't. So by process of deduction, you can kind of tell that it would be a number 7. But it's just something that I think color by number publishers and even some more established color by number publishers, I see those mistakes somewhat often. But if you can keep yourself from having a mistake like that, I really think it does make a difference and adds to just the professionalism of the book itself. There is enough variety in the different images here. It's all, sold to be butterflies, so you know kind of what it's going to be. But there's a pretty nice variety. This is the page that I completed, and I tried to look at this just from I colored it exactly how it was structured. So you'll see there is a color number missing here. Now I could probably deduce that that's a number 1 and put that there, but I just wanted to show you this did not have a number here. Also, like the eyeballs in some of the insects also didn't have a number. I think you could just very simply add black. But for those who are a little particular and want to have something, you can definitely put that there. I used alcohol brush markers here just for outlining and then just colored in with crayon. I just kept it very simple, almost like what a kid would do, when you're coloring out of a book. This is standard Amazon paper, so there's nothing unique and really special about the paper itself, but it's good standard coloring paper for kids. And like I said, there's enough kind of uniqueness to each of the images here that I think it's enjoyable to color. This almost reminds me of another butterfly color by number book, kind of by Sachdeva. It's a little simpler, but it's a good format. But I mean, they're all unique images. This was another just little typo. It was missing the number 8 on this page, and I kind of thought like, oh, well, maybe it's because there's not an 8 in the image, but there definitely is. But the good thing is because they keep the numbers consistent throughout, I mean, you definitely know that number 8 is orange. So, I mean, they did a good job with the placement of their numbers as well. I mean, they're not obstructed in any way. They don't look like they were rushed. I mean, they did look like they took their time in working on some of this. Yeah, and some of them do have the numbers in the eyes and the antennas, but some don't. So yeah. Yeah, this one too has a little bit of that same issue maybe with the kind of thin line work, but really that's only on a couple. And then you just have a little, you know, just encouraging you to leave a review. In the back, a blank page. And that is it for that book. So this is the Butterfly Color by Number by Pod Only Publishing. All right, last but certainly not least, this is the latest installment in the Color by Color series. This is the Country Life book by Shershneva. I just don't have anything negative to say about this book. I absolutely love this book. You guys know I love the Color by Color series. There's a large variety of different Color by Color series books. She has some of my top two favorite styles that she does in the Color by Colors are the mandala style books, which it sounds like she's going to be coming out with a new one very soon. And then the other one are her characters. She has another one called Women's World that is one of my absolute favorite color by number books of all time. And really this is color by color, not color by number, but same type of genre and same type of idea. This is all centered around country life. You'll kind of see on the back some sample images. If you are the kind of person who doesn't like to see numbers in your color by number after you color them, this is going to be right up your alley. She uses the same 22 color palette that she does in all of her books. And then she also has premium paper inside of this. So this is perfect for alcohol marker. It's that nice shiny glossy paper. Here is the color palette page here, and then you get directly into the images themselves. So color palette nicely on the left hand side, and then you're going to be coloring in the images based upon what the outline of each area is. Now I will tell you on her character books, they're a little more detailed. You can see it uses a wide variety of the color palette. She does leave out any colors that aren't used in the image, which helps to kind of narrow down. Like I know that I've colored enough of these now. I know the color that's missing is tan, which sometimes can be confusing to see the difference between tan and peach. So I know anything that looks like that peach color, that's going to be what the skin tone is on this particular character in general instead of tan. Really, really cute book. There are 20 images in this book, and they're all centered around country life. One of the things I'm really happy to see are just some unique animals and things like a turkey. This would be perfect for Thanksgiving. But these are a lot of fun. I'm really hoping she comes out with more books with characters in them. I mean, the details in the eyes are one of my most favorite things that she has in some of the character books. I think she does a really, really great job with these. And I'm also happy to see that there are some boys, like that's a boy character represented in this book as well, because we don't see a lot of boys or men in coloring books in general. And so it's kind of nice to see a little bit of variety. This is the image that I did here. I'm going to kind of hold it up a little bit because just the glare from the paper is a little bit hard to see. So I use my Copic brush markers in here. If you have brush alcohol markers, I really feel like that's the best medium to use in this book. I'm slightly preferenced just because I like using brush markers in books, but they just really glide across the paper really, really nicely and create a really nice even effect. I feel like it's better than the use of just the regular like fine and chisel nib. I really like it. So I use my Copics in here, and I love how it turns out. Just her wide use of color, just the uniqueness of the characters that she has, and it really just comes to life. It really takes probably about a solid hour to hour and a half for me to color a page out of this book. I mean, they are pretty pretty big images. You will see they do bleed through on the other side. So if that bothers you and you're new to the color by colors, then I would start from the back and work your way forward. Now, I like to rank Shersshneva's books by easiness. I kind of rate them from easy, intermediate, and hard. I would rate this book as an intermediate level book, just because of the large range of the color palette that she uses and the level of detail in here. So if you're someone who's new to the Color by Color series, you may want to start with a book like her mandala book that is a little bit easier, or her books that are labeled by season. Spring and summer are both out. Those are easier books to kind of get your eye used to seeing what color is what. Like I can tell this is tan, this is light brown, this is peach. I already know and have seen enough of the colors that I don't even have to really reference the color palette now. I know when I'm looking at it what the color is. The only ones I still get somewhat confused are light blue and blue. Sometimes look very similar to me. I'm trying to think what other colors. And then brown and dark brown. If they're both present, I do have to check. Like I can tell now this is brown and dark brown, but usually there's something close enough to each other that I can kind of tell what it is. But yeah, really cute books. And sometimes in some of our images, she has some of these like hidden fun details, like this little angry cat here, like, hey, don't water my spot. I really like this one with the bicycle. I think that's beautiful. So just really fun, all the fun vegetables. The cats and dogs in the house. Lots and lots of cats and dogs and pets in this one, which is really fun. So yeah, so there are 20 images in this book. This book is a little bit pricier. I think it's close to $12 or $13, but this does have the premium paper. It does have less images than a lot of the other books that I showed you, but I think the coloring experience in this book is superb. It is unbelievable. It's really lots and lots of fun, and I really enjoy it. So lots and lots of really great books sent to me for review. All of these were sent to me for review, so I want to thank Sachin, Sachdeva, Belba family, Pod Only Publishing, and Shershneva for so kindly sending these to me. I really had a great time in coloring these. If you are interested in grabbing a copy for yourself, I will, as always, have an affiliate link with Amazon down below in the description box. I encourage you to go to Amazon and to pick up a copy. With that being said, I'm happy to answer any questions you have, and I hope you have a wonderful week of coloring, and I will see you next time. Bye.